afternoon, everyone. And we're going to get the presentation queued up in a minute, but I want to say thank you to EducationWorks, PowerCore, all of the PowerCore young ladies for hosting us so graciously, and much thanks to the former panelists that were just up here for sharing their stories and their perspectives and words of wisdom. All right, so I like to be a little bit flexible sometimes in my remarks and how I share things, and listening to much of what some of the previous panelists spoke about, there were some things that resonated with me.
Sorry, the light's still on.
Okay,
guys,
$50,000. You break it, you bought it. That's right.
50,000.
Adrian broke it, he bought it. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Okay. So one of the things that sort of defined my perspectives and outlooks on life related to sort of gender equality was a formative moment that I had when I was in 3rd grade. Move this back for a second. I ran for class president in 3rd grade, and I thought, I knew most of my peers, and we were in kindergarten together, in 1st grade and 2nd grade, and I get to be president. And so I was really excited. It was a predominantly African American class, and again, I grew up with most of these individuals. And when the voting came out, a young white student actually won president, and I was vice president. And so while I was distraught, I think one of the things it signaled to me was who really holds power in this country and who's viewed as being someone that's powerful. That moment always stuck with me, and I never forgot that. And so what I knew is that I could still always aspire to be the top, and that was just one instance of trying to break the barrier. So I've lived my life from this motto, to whom much is given, much is required. And so my life story is really one of giving. I grew up in a family that was very civic-minded, entrepreneurial. We cleaned our neighborhood. We took lunches to seniors in the neighborhood. My aunt was one of the ones that would not call CLIP, the city department, to come clean our neighborhoods and the alleyways. She would go get the bags and the trash cans and the brooms, and we had to do it. But it instilled pride in us in keeping our communities clean and safe. So this is a motto that I live by today. The work that I do now is largely centered on preparing individuals for employment, specifically for employment with the city of Philadelphia. So as Lisa shared, when she took her first exam for fire captain, she didn't pass. And oftentimes, the playing field isn't level, right? So people that went before her or already worked in the fire department could tell their sons and their brothers and their nephews and their relatives what it's like to work in the fire department, what they're going to ask you on the exam. So some people are given a leg up. And again, that playing field isn't level. So the work that I do now is really related to helping level that playing field in city government. So I run a program called City as Model Employer. And so we prepare individuals to qualify for those civil service exams. And not just qualify to take the exam, but we provide them with the work experience and the skills needed to pass the exam. So they can get on the list. So they can get hired by that department. And so that work means a great deal to me. I had no idea I would be leading that particular initiative for the city of Philadelphia at this time. But I'm really proud to do that work and hopefully assist individuals with not having such a challenging time getting into city government. Terrion mentioned that I have a master's in leadership development, and I agree with much of what Ms. Scholl said earlier around kind of leading from others to give. So giving to those that might report to you or above you. So my type of leadership is one of servant leadership. So whatever I have, I give. When my colleague Katie Wolfgang said, would you speak at the PowerCore Women's event? Absolutely, right? Wouldn't even occur to me not to do it unless I couldn't attend for some other major reason. But I would jump at the chance to come and speak to you all and share whatever I know and answer any questions you have. Again, I love Jeopardy, cooking, and reading. A few of the favorite books that have kind of stuck with me that have real nuggets of wisdom. One is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's written in Old English, but if you were to read it, you could really understand what it's saying. It's very straightforward. And actually, when I read it the first time, I highlighted all the words I did not know and looked them up and enhanced my vocabulary. So when I played Jeopardy, I could beat my mom. And one of the quotes from As a Man Thinketh is that, and it says men a lot, but you can sub women. So women do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. And then the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. This one was a really powerful book for me. The agreements are very simple. I brought copies in case you'd like to see it, but in short, it says be impeccable with your word. So that's always speaking with integrity and not using your voice or your power to speak against people, and being true to your word, having it be your bond. Don't take anything personally, so what others do is not because of you, it's because of who they are. Don't make assumptions, so ask questions, get as much information as possible, and inform your decisions based on logic, not your emotions. Right? And always do your best. If your best is 75% today, because that's what Lisa could give, she's not 100% because she doesn't feel good, she came and she gave you 75%. That was her best today, and we appreciate that. So always do your best, whatever that is. And then The Alchemist. So it says, I saw that everything really was written there before me, and that the doors had only been closed before because I hadn't realized that I was the one person in the world with the authority to open them. Really powerful nuggets. Right? He might have become president in the 3rd grade, but I'm president today, so he's my employer. So education is important. Again, I came from a family that stressed education, not just formal learning, but also reading and soaking up knowledge and information, and always consider your source and who you take information from. And I was educated in the Philadelphia public school system, went to South York. That's one of your schools? Right in South Philly. Then I went to Bodine High School for International Affairs, a really small magnet school, great school, but the city of Philadelphia should be ashamed. It used to be an old elementary school, and then they crammed a bunch of high school students in there. But I was the star of the girls' basketball team. So with it being a really small school, the boys' team was not that great. We didn't have football, and so when I first got there, all the cheerleaders would just go to the boys' games. And that's just how it was. And I didn't understand why they wouldn't come and cheer for us, because that's a lot of what brought some people out. And so when we started winning and they would announce, the girls won again, the girls won again. Then they started coming to our games. And so the kids were like, what happened? Yeah, we started winning, and we can have that support too. So you can advocate for yourself. So that was an interesting little change for the school there. And then I went to Westchester, Penn State to continue my education, and then about a year ago, I went to Villanova and took an HR program that prepared me for an advanced certification in human resources to credential myself. So keep learning. So talking about getting the coins, right? One of the things that I watched happen in my neighborhood in South Philadelphia was typically on the weekends, to make money, some people would sell dinners. And in a lot of African American communities, it's the traditional stuff: fried chicken, fried fish, collard greens, baked macaroni and cheese, yams, right? Sound good, I'm making y'all hungry, right? And I didn't necessarily eat all of that growing up. I had a very different diet because of my religion and my faith. But one of my favorite dishes was spaghetti. So I started selling hot spaghetti dinners with a side garden salad and an Italian dinner roll with a little butter and garlic and parsley. And I would send my brother out there with the platter when they would have basketball games, and that's all I had to do for marketing. Send him out there with one platter, and then the orders would start coming in, right? So I set my brand. I did something different than what everybody else was doing. So who can sell a hot dinner, Italian dinner, to black people in the summer and make money? And that's how I bought my first car. And so I saved my money, and my mom said, whatever you earn and save, I'll match. So I saved $250, and she put $250 to it. And I bought my first car, 1984 Honda Accord, for $500. Didn't have the money for the insurance. I had to sell a few more dinners. So that was my entrepreneurial venture. And I didn't just come to that on my own, even though my family had several businesses. I went through a program similar to PowerPanel. It was called the Young Entrepreneurs Program at Penn. And so they taught me how to do a business plan, right? How to price out and buy stuff wholesale. And so I learned quite a bit and put it to use and started earning money on my own. So I always knew that if I needed to make money doing something of my own two hands, I could do that. Then I worked in retail. Mandy and Staples, making copies at the copy machines, and Eddie Bauer. And so there was no job that was too small necessarily. If it allowed me to gain some skills and earn some money, I did it. And I worked at Eddie Bauer in college so that I didn't have to drop out. And so that taught me quite a bit. And one summer, I worked at an organization called Women's Association for Women's Alternatives that assisted women that were being taken off of welfare returning to the workforce. So that was my first foray into really seeing some of the challenges that women particularly face in regards to getting connected to employment. And so our barriers are really unique because we're mothers, because of how we're paid less in the workforce. And so it's now called Pathways PA. It has a new name, but that opened my eyes to an entirely different field of work. Then I got a job at the Signal Insurance Agency where I was a call center representative, which, as you know, you hang up on those people now, those telemarketers and all that, right? But this is a little bit different in that people called us to place claims, so it was an inbound call center. I said I could do that. And so I was really good at it, where other people kind of cut corners, it was just a job. I kind of made my mark here and got the opportunity to train new call center representatives coming in, to do quality assurance, to listen to the calls when it says this call might be monitored for quality assurance. That was me. But we did monitor, and I was checking off what people did right and what people did wrong and what they could do better. And then I also did some fraud investigation for claims that were fraudulent. So I was able to kind of fall into human resources and training people through this particular job that I had while I was in college and then once I graduated. Now to corporate America. So talk about organizations that are male-dominated. This was white male-dominated. So Vanguard is one of the largest mutual fund investment firms in the nation. It's about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia in Malvern. They only recently opened up a Philadelphia office because they wanted to stay in Malvern for a reason. And so one of the things I learned there was I had to assimilate to the culture that was there. I was not going to go in and change that culture. So I went in with the mindset of I'll learn as much as I can, I'll succeed as much as I can, and the minute I hit that glass ceiling and can't go any further, I'll leave and move on to greener pastures, and that's what I did. And so I spent 10 years at Vanguard. It wasn't easy because they didn't hire me right out. Right after 9/11, resumes with the name Zakiyyah were being put in the trash quickly, right? Shredder. I was getting no callbacks, right? So I was actually placed at Vanguard through a staffing firm. So I wasn't too proud to take that work. I had a college degree, I was accomplished, I had a great resume, but wound up starting in a position getting paid much less than what I was worth. But it was an opportunity. I stayed 10 years, I learned a lot. When I read that they'll do tuition reimbursement, I went back and got my master's degree, 0 student loans from that, right? So you never know what might come out of it. So after being at Vanguard about 10 years, I wanted to really reconnect to the work that was passionate to me, like when I was at the Women's Association. And so I went to Resources for Human Development. They're a really large nonprofit organization based out of Philadelphia. They're in 15 different states, serving individuals from all different backgrounds, intellectual disabilities, addiction, homelessness, HIV and AIDS. And so that was actually great work. I also served as the Director of Career Services at Orleans Technical College, and now most recently I get to serve my own city doing workforce development. So that's been kind of my work hard but also work smart portfolio. And then again, knowing that I can do things with my own 2 hands, I created 3 workforce programs that I branded, that I own, and that I can and still do shop out to different states and organizations and customize it for their particular needs. So this is 3 trademark workforce programs that I sell and earn income from. Yep. So in closing, kind of a few career tips, takeaways. Always create an outstanding track record of accomplishments for yourself. Maintain your resume and your professional reputation. You heard Lisa say that what's out on social media stays there. That is true. You want to be known for what you accomplish as a professional, but people also see the personal side of it too. So remember, when you're establishing that brand, you have to maintain it. Be a lifelong learner. We kind of heard that one. Always acquire new skills. So constantly learn, constantly grow, constantly have something that allows you to earn more income. Stay focused. So find out what your passion is, what you're interested in, and keep your eye on that goal. And make good choices. For women, sometimes it's tough for us because we have many other demands and responsibilities. We often take care of our parents, our siblings. And so making good choices keeps us moving in a positive direction. Always evaluate, is it right or good for you? Not just who else does it help. So think of yourself first sometimes and make choices that are good for you, that move you in the direction of your goals. Finish what you start of those things that are good goals. So have those accomplishments so you can say, I began this and I finished this, here's what I learned, here's what I gained, here's what I accomplished. And build that support system. I think somebody spoke about that earlier, sort of having those allies, both personal and professional, because we're going to run into challenges. So who are those people you can rely on when things get tough? When I was working 45 minutes away out at Vanguard in Malvern, and my mother had knee surgery, I couldn't be there during the day to help her. So I had an aunt that could stay, that could help her, and then when I got off work, I came and relieved her, and we had a whole operation and system for her care. Right? And so now today my mother's in a position to do a lot of stuff for me while I'm at work. And so it's a give and it's a take. So the more you do for other people and you can rely on them, let them rely on you, and it becomes your system for whatever you need. And celebrate your achievements. So after I graduated from college, which again wasn't always easy, there are a lot of challenges there, my girlfriends and I saved up our money and we went to the Bahamas. Right? And so in the Bahamas, at least then, way back when, the currency exchange was the dollar for dollar. So the value of a dollar here is the same value as a dollar in the Bahamas. And so we went because we wanted to use Bahamian money and feel like real tourists and stuff. And so we exchanged our American dollars. And then once we got the Bahamian money, it got really, really quiet. And we were all looking at each other like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And so what we realized is that we were holding money with black people's faces on it. And it took our breath away. We had never even conceived that you can have black faces on money. Fine black faces too. But you can have black faces on money, right? And so it was eye-opening for us. And we had never experienced that. And we kept the money and brought it back, but it just showed that you can have, you can accomplish, you can be. We'll never see that in the States right now. I know they've talked about Harriet Tubman being on money, but that was very impactful for us. It made us feel really good. And then we've heard this one earlier, which was be yourself. So be true to who you are more than anything else. Live in your truth, live in your power, and really just own it. Because ultimately, you're the CEO of your life, right? So however your life goes, you were at the head of it, right? We can't always predict, or we couldn't plan how we started out. But once you start to become an adult, you're in charge. So now how do you want to manage it and run it and lead it? And be the boss of your life and of your destiny, because you own that. And so thank you so much for listening, and I know we have time for more questions.